guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Fired from Target. About 25 years ago I had just gotten off of my shift with a law enforcement agency. I had not bothered to fully change out of my uniform and I still have my tan tactical pants on. And a brand new red Henley type shirt that I pulled over my department polo shirt. And at that time I decided to stop at the local Target in order to do some last minute Christmas shopping. Because I am also 6 feet 6 inches, I also typically get people asking me to get something off of higher shelves. At one point I had a Karen following me asking me to get things off of higher shelves for her, etc. And then she started asking me about pricing, and I had no idea why, not even thinking about my tan pants and red shirt. So I asked her to please leave me alone so I could do my shopping in peace. Little did I know that she would go and find a manager and complain about the really tall employee ignoring her needs. Well, peacefully shopping I was approached by Karen and the manager, with the manager telling me that I was supposed to be providing customer service especially during the holiday season and that rudeness would not be tolerated in her store. And that I should clock out and not come back to work. And that I would not be getting my employee discount with my purchase that evening. I had nothing, simply nothing to say because I've never been fired from Target before. I took the last of my shopping to the checkout lane where the manager and the Karen followed me. It was at that time while I was checking out that I opened my wallet with my badge and credentials in it. And then had the presence of mind to say something to the manager, something along the lines of, "Do you even know who works for you?" The Karen harumphed off, and the manager's soul seemed to depart her body. Best part was the cashier and security guy cracking up. The next story is titled You Can't Quit, I Want You Fired. The morning after a good rowdy kickback in our apartment, my roommate and I go to the orange hardware store after noticing some holes in the walls. Roommate goes to find plaster and I go to paint. I get to the paint department and I'm looking through the paint swatches to remember what our walls look like, keep in mind, still very hungover. I pick out a color that is probably the closest, and if not, then I'll just mix my own paint, art minor. There's no employee at the paint mixing station so I just put the swatch in my hoodie. To pass the time, I sort the paint swatches properly because mild OCD. Then it comes. Ahem. Here's the cast. Not real names: employee George, manager Jason, me hopefully self-explanatory, rude ass idiot Karen. Karen. I need you to do your damn job and mix me some paint. Me. Stares blankly as hangover is blocking my ability to respond. Karen. Hello? I am talking to you. Mix my ducking paint. Fortunately, my brain finally decides to turn on again. Me. I don't work her gets cut off by Karen. Karen. Don't ducking lie to me. I saw you sorting the color wall poorly. Only a lazy employee would do that sort of crap. Me. Ma'am, I'm gonna be honest, I'm really hungover and your screeching is making me want to puke. That statement went as well as you would expect. Karen. You ducking terrible worker and terrible person for saying that. I am going to get your manager and have you fired. Storms off stage left. Once the banshee left, I hear chuckling from down the aisle behind me. Lo and behold, my roommate listened to most of it and is laughing his ass off. He asked if I got the paint and I explained the first part of the confrontation. We decided to wait for the manager because maybe he'll mix our paint before we are kicked out. We wait a few more minutes and George walks up, oblivious to what just transpired, and starts mixing our paint. Enter stage left, Karen with a very annoyed manager on her heels. Karen. That's the one that called me an orangutan whore and he needs to be fired right now, pointing at me. Jason. George? I'm frankly surprised you'd say such a nasty thing. George. What now? Karen. Not him. The scrawny one in a hoodie. He even told me he is drunk. Jason looks at me and looks confused. Ma'am, he doesn't work here, but I can ask him to leave for insulting you. Karen. No, he definitely works here. I saw him working. Me. Okay, then I quit. Karen. You can't quit, I want you fired. By now our paint is done mixing and I asked George if he'd like to escort us to the front. I've never seen a morning shift employee brighten up so fast. Karen is belligerent and the manager tries to calm her down with coupons. My roommate, George, and I leave paint as fast as possible and can still hear the screeching from the cashier stand. We pay and George walks us to the car. I explained what really happened and he laughs and says he'll tell Jason the situation. Initially, my roommate and I were gonna go straight home, but we had to see the outcome of this, so George agreed he'd come back out once the orangutan whore was gone. The police ended up having to be called just to escort her out, but she was not arrested. Jason and George came out to the car, and as George had already explained what happened, Jason profusely apologized. We laughed it off and I said something along the lines of it was worth getting out of bed for despite the hangover. Jason gave us free membership perks, and the next time we came in, we were so kindly informed that Karen had come back later that day and vandalized some of the yard equipment always on display, and she was arrested. Serves the orangutan whore right. The next story is titled Aggressively Speed Through a Residential Neighborhood. Now your car is wrecked and it's your fault, dumb Bubba. So this was quite a few years ago. One day my kids were skating in a quarter pipe, when this truck comes around the corner with a Bubba driving, and he sees my daughter come off the quarter pipe, and instead of slowing down he floors it and rips past my house, still accelerating while yelling something about keep out of the road, duckers. I yelled also, slow down. The following weekend I'm out mowing my lawn and I see this guy coming, so I walk out to the edge and try to wave him down to talk, and Bubba floors it again, laughing like a maniac as he goes flying by with his engine redlining. This guy is a nut. So I go to the hardware store and picked up 3 of those 3-foot orange safety cones, and I put a sign on each one of them, slow down, residential neighborhood, kids at play. A few days later I come outside and find the cones have been run over. I already know who done it. I'm pretty pissed off. Like really angry. And in that anger I came up with my most brilliant plan. I went to the hardware store and purchased 3 new cones, along with cement and steel rebar. I filled those with rebar and cement and let them set. After the cones were ready I put them back out in the side of the street by my house with the same 3 signs as before. It didn't take long. 2 days later I'm in my garage tinkering and I hear that damn truck engine revving up as the Bubba goes pedal to the metal. I look up just in time to see his truck steer towards the shoulder to run over the cones. Damn, it was a beautiful sight like none I've ever seen before. He hit the first cone with his bumper and the cone fell forward and rotated the base up towards his engine block and actually lifted the front of his truck upwards, as his front passenger wheel made a direct connection with the second cone and launched his truck up even higher in the air. The third cone also made a direct hit on his right tire suspension as his truck came down to a screeching halt. There were fluids running out from under his truck and his passenger tire was angled inwards at a 90-degree angle. Bubba was pissed off and started screaming about how I wrecked his truck and how I'm gonna pay. I yelled back and said, well then let's call the cops and get them out here to make a report, and you can tell them how you were racing down to road and intentionally ran over the safety cones, or I can call you a tow truck. Which will it be? We called a tow truck. I never did see Bubba drive down my street anymore after that incident. I was worried he'd try to get revenge, but nothing ever happened and we moved out a couple years later. The next story is titled Mistaken for a Caterer at My Own Wedding Party. My wedding party was very informal. We wore sports jerseys. A lot of family and friends of family came, including a batch of people that I didn't even know, which got a little weird because we still only personally invited everyone and told everyone to let us know if they have a +1 and it would be fine for us to invite them. This is so we could track catering expenses and space concerns. It was a rough day and I was very limited in support and was taking care of most setup and issues myself in a party of roughly 80 people. It felt more like work than a party. The time finally came where I could rest when issues were taken care of, about halfway through the party. The sun was beginning to set. I sat down in the corner and wiped the sweat off my face and looked over at the food. Everyone had eaten except me, so I was ready to finally dive into the food I paid for. Some woman I never met in her late 20s asked me to bring a plate for her kids. Me. I'm sorry ma'am. I want to bring some stuff for my wife and start eating myself. Lady. Oh, caterers can bring their family to events like this? Me. Somewhat confused at her response. The caterers here are a family business. So sort of. Lady. Isn't it inappropriate for you to eat food someone else paid for? Me. Confused even further but giving a chuckle. I paid for it. I'm sorry, who did you come here with? Lady. Oh really? You must be the party planner. Are you a friend of the groom's? I was invited by the groom. I'm F. Me. Chuckling again. No, I'm the groom. Lady. Oh, I am sorry. How embarrassing. You're the groom. Hey, nice to meet you. Me. I sent invitations by name, but we also requested feedback for the plus invitations. I don't believe I sent you an invitation. I think everyone invited more people than we initially wanted. Lady. Uh-oh. Am I and my kids okay to be here? I'm actually sister's friend's friend. They said it was okay. Me. Oh yes, that will be perfectly fine. We have much more food than I had thought. It won't be an issue. Nice to meet you. I came to the table with my wife and her grandmother and we finally ate. My wife to me. Damn girl, you flirting with all the ladies at our wedding party or what? I know that a +1 of a +1 that was uninvited is generally uncool, but there was no need to stress it. Everyone had a good time and there was actually too much food. The next story is titled I'm Not Sure You Should Be Shopping Unsupervised. This happened to me yesterday and is a little different from most of the stories on here. A rather elderly lady came up to me in Target and asked me where the cereal was. I politely told her I didn't work there, which should have been obvious, given that I was wearing blue, not the Target red plus khakis, but pointed her a couple of aisles over. She apologized very sincerely and went on her way. However, as she passed me, I noticed that her cart already had some cereal in it. I thought that was a little strange, but didn't say anything. I kept shopping and passed by her in the cereal aisle, at which point she stopped me and asked me where the soup was. I took a quick glance in her basket and noticed it had some soup in it already. At this point, I realized she probably has Alzheimer's or some other kind of memory loss, and decided to just help her get through her shopping. We had to put a few items back, but got through it without too much difficulty. When we got to the front of the store to check out, a young lady in a non-Target green uniform came running up to her and asked where she had been. I explained the situation and she calmed down a bit and explained that she was the driver for the retirement community and had been waiting for the elderly lady I was assisting so she could pay and get back to the community. She took over from there and I went back and finished up my shopping. It was an interesting day. I just hope that in the future they don't let her shop alone. The next story is titled I Got Fired from a Job I Don't Work. I work for Nabisco as a sales service representative. I go from store to store in whatever region I'm assigned to for the day. I spend usually 2 to 6 hours in each store depending on the amount of product in the shipment. Today I was doing my normal Walmart service and something I could never imagine happened. I'm required to wear pants and a collared shirt for my position. It's not really a big deal, except on the hot days when I leave the stores to enter my car that's a ripe 110 degrees. Today I was wearing khakis and a blue collared shirt, my first mistake. All the Walmart employees wear blue and a crossing guard bright yellow vest. I was doing my usual thing, throwing Oreos on shelves and making sure the Ritz are all straight, when a new Walmart employee came over to me. Employee. Hey, there's a mandatory meeting for us in the receiving deck. Me. Sorry, I don't actually WOR. Employee. It's mandatory. Instead of putting up a fight about it, knowing I had to go to receiving to get more product, I went with the new dude. I got back there and walked by the group of employees gathered around the store manager, who I have had several conversations with before. I thought, no biggie, squeak on by and just get one box of Chips Ahoy, and then leave. As I walk by the group, I hear a faint "excuse me?" I turn around to see a woman I have never seen before. I guess a woman from regional doing some sort of wellness and performance check. Me. Can I help you? Woman. Actually yes, you can help by joining us. Once again, not wanting to get into a confrontation, I just walked on over there and decided to try and wait it out. The woman went on and on, but didn't seem to stop. I tried to sneak away, giving the store manager a little nod, kind of confirming that I was going to leave. I stood up and the woman had more things to say. Woman. Excuse me? Who gave you permission to leave? Me. I don't actually work here. Woman. It's a rhetorical question, sit down. I decided that I was just going to walk away. After all, I didn't actually work there. I walked over to our backstock and grabbed the cookies and left. After around 45 minutes of stocking shelves, I had to go back and grab more of the items from the back stock. I returned to the back room and proceeded to load the boat with more product. Lo and behold, regional lady approaches me. Woman. Extremely disrespectful to try and upstage me. What makes you think you can do something like that to a higher up? Trying to explain. I tried to tell you, I don't worry. Woman. No, you don't talk back to me, pack it up and go. I was absolutely dumbfounded. It was so cliché, like bad movie cliché, but I was going to do what was requested. I packed it up and left, leaving a half-loaded boat in the back room with me. Later I got a call from my boss saying that Walmart called complaining I didn't finish the case shipment. I explained the scenario and was off the hook. I like to think the manager will now have a half-stocked cookies and crackers aisle, and have to personally stock it for not standing up for me. The next story is titled How to Shake Hands with 3 World Leaders in Less Than a Minute with No Security Credentials. Back in '89, Ray Nadeau was sworn in as Canada's new Governor-General, Canadian envoy to the Crown. This was a big deal for me because I was best friends with his son, so my mom and I got invited to the inaugural gala in Ottawa. We were flown in a Gulfstream. I'd never even been on a plane before, and would be staying at Rideau Hall, the GovG's official residence. To properly document this august event, I borrowed my uncle's very expensive, very impressive-looking camera and lenses and also got a new, used, suit. I felt pretty damn important for a shy grade 10 kid. Anyway, I was waiting in line with the rest of the plebs to be ushered in to stand at back in the House of Commons when I was approached by 2 RCMP officers who asked me to step out of the line. Of course my immediate thought was, oh crap. What did I do? They informed me that I was in the wrong line and to please go with them. Confused, I looked around and then down at myself and saw the expensive camera dangling from my neck, partially obscuring the lanyard that allowed me onto the grounds. Holy crap, they thought I was press. I always looked older than my actual age back then. I glanced over to my mom and she silently mouthed go, and so off I go to the press gallery. The RCs plopped me into the cluster of photographers from the national press, and suddenly I'm sharing the same bird's eye view as Sandy Ronaldo and Peter Mansbridge. The Barbara Walters and Tom Brokaw of Canada. I snap away happily and hobnob with members of the Fifth Estate for a bit and head for the stairs to go find my mom. Once again I'm stopped by the RCs. Well, the jig is up, thought I, sir. The press conferences are through the other exit behind you. What the what? Once again I am led into another room I have no business being in, and in the span of 20 minutes I've met Trudeau, Mulroney, Chrétien, Bouchard, Turner, Clark and a pack of others. These names might not mean much to non-Canadians, but trust me, these were some of the biggest, haunchiest honchos in Canadian politics for 3 decades. The only ones who knew I didn't belong were Ray himself and Roy Romano, my province's future premier. They just did a double take and thought the whole thing was hilarious. Never ratted me out, classy guys. So there you go. 3 PMs, 1 former, 1 current and 1 future, all because I didn't own my own camera. The next story is titled I Don't Work Here Anymore, So Duck Off. This happened a couple years ago. I'd worked in a cafe owned by my uncle for around 4 years, and some time after leaving for a new job I went for lunch with a college friend. We were sat down, and being a Sunday morning there were a few hungover, drunken souls looking for a fry-up. A few people said hi, asked how I'd been, etc., which was nice but nothing invasive. Then I heard fingers clicking. Had I been on shift I'd have immediately looked for the perpetrator and asked them to politely stop, but hey, didn't work there so I didn't really take much notice. Then there's a tap on my shoulder. I turn round, curious but scowling because I know it's not someone I know, judging by the strength they pressed on me with. It's one of the drunk students. The conversation went as follows. Me. Can I help you? Student. We're still waiting on X breakfast items, go and get them. M. I don't actually work here anymore, trying to enjoy my own breakfast. Maybe just wait quietly at your table. This didn't seem to make him happy as he demanded I go and personally fetch his food, as he knew I worked there as I'd spoken to customers, blah blah yada yada. By this time my friend and I were a bit sick of being polite, and I felt empowered being in a familiar setting. M. I don't know how else to say this, I do not work here anymore. I'm having breakfast. Leave us alone. S. Get off your lazy ass, it'll take 2 minutes. By this time my former colleagues had noticed, and one approached to try and steer him away. But no, the drunken ass wanted me personally to be his skivvy, as he'd wasted a good couple of minutes harassing me. M. Listen, I don't work here anymore and I've really tried to be polite and it's got me nowhere, so duck off will you? This set him into a rage, cursing at me, and he was quickly escorted from the cafe by a few regulars I was pally with. Nothing exciting, but it's a little bit of justice. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.